नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Verse 51. बुद्धया विशुद्धया युक्तो धृत्यात्मना नियम्य च शब्दादीन विषयस्य त्वारागद्वेषो व्युदस्य च। विविक्तसेवी लक्त्वासि यद्वाक्यमानसः ध्यानयोगपरो नित्यं वैराग्यं समुपाश्रितः अहङ्कारं बलं दर्प कामं क्रोधं परिग्रहं विमुच्य निर्ममः शान्तो ब्रह्मभूयाय कल्पते।
Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization.
ब्रह्मभूतः प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम्।
One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes a supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
भक्त्या मामभिजानाति यावान्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम्।
One can understand me as I am, as a supreme personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God.
सर्वकर्माण्यमपि सदा कुर्वाणो मदव्यपाश्रयः मत्प्रसादाद्वाप्नोति शाश्वतं पदमव्ययम्।
Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace.
चेतसा सर्वकर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परा बुद्धियोगम् उपाश्रित्य मच्चित्तः सततं भव।
In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me.
मच्चित्तः सर्वदुर्गाणि मत्प्रसादात् परिशस्यसि अथ चेत्त्वम् अहङ्कारान् श्रोष्यसि विनक्ष्यसि।
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
यदहङ्कारम् आश्रित्य न योच्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्येष व्यवसायस्य ते प्रकृतिस्त्वां नियोक्ष्यति।
If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare.
स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धः स्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यस्य वशोऽपि तत्.
Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. But compelled by the workbone of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti.
Text 61. ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृदेशे अर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया.
The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy.
Text 62. तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्.
O son of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode.
इति ते ज्ञानम् आख्यातं गुह्याद् गुह्यतरं मया विमृश्येत दशेषेण यथाच्छसि तथा कुरु.
Thus I have explained to you knowledge is still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do.
Text 64. सर्वगुह्यतं भूयः शृणु मे परमं वचः इष्टोऽसि मे दृढमिति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितम्.
Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit.
मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मध्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वेश्यसि सत्यं ते प्रतिजाने प्रियोषि मे.
Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend.
Text 66. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
इदं ते न तपस्काय न भक्ताय कदाचन न चाशुश्रूषवे वाच्यं न च मां योऽभ्यसूयति.
This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me.
य इदं परमं गुह्यं मदैक्तवभिष्यदास्यति भक्तिं मयि परां कृत्वा मामे वेश्यस्य संशयः.
For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me.
न च तस्मान् मनुष्येषु कश्चिन्मे प्रियकृतं भवितां न च मे तस्माद् अन्यप्रियतरो भुवि.
There is no servant in this world more dear to me. than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
Adhyeshyate cha ya imam dharmya svanvadabhavayo gnana yagyena tenaha ishtam syamiti me matihi.
And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence.
Shraddhavanay anasuyascha shrunuyadapi yo naraha sopi mukta supam lokan prapnupyat punya karmanam.
And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell.
Kachite tachrutam partha tvayekagreణ chetasa kachit jnanam sanmoham pranasrustate sananjaya.
O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled?
Arjuna uvacha nashto moha smritirlabdha tvatva prasadan maya achyutah sthitosmi gata sandeha karishe vachanam tavaha.
Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions.
Sanjaya uvacha ityaham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmana samvadam imam asrushram adbhutam romaharshanam.
Sanjaya said, Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end.
Vyasa prasadat srutvan etat guhyamaham param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat sakshat kathayatah swayam.
By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
Rajana sansmrutya samvadamimam dhrutam keshavarjunayo punyam rishyami cha muhurmuhu.
O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment.
Tatta cha sansmrutya rupamadrutam adbhutam hare vismayo ye mahan raja narishyami cha punah punah.
O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
Yatra yogeshwara krishno yatra partho dhanurdhara tatra sri vijayo bhutir dhruva nitir matir mamaha.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
Om iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Sastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Moksha Sannyasa Yogo Namaha Ashtadaso Adhyayah. Hare Krishna. Please Prabhu forgive me any mistakes I made. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Usha Mataji. No, I didn't see you make any mistakes. I only saw you reciting very nicely. Thank you. And same Uma Mataji, very nice, very nice.
Thank you for giving me the chance to read. Thank you, Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we shall now continue with today's verse. So welcome everyone to today's chat session. If anyone is joining us for the first time, a warm welcome to you, to our group. We are been coming together every single day since March last year, reading Bhagavad Gita, and we've now arrived at the closing part of the Gita, last verses. Well, I think it's 69 today, so we'll have another 9 verses left for the chapter, end of chapter 18. And it's been a wonderful journey. And even if you've joined us late, I'm sure we'll carry on in some shape or form when we finish chapter 18. So please continue to be with us. So today we will be reading text number and discussing text number 69 of the 18th chapter. The chapter is entitled Perfection of Renunciation. Before we read and discuss, we always recite the Mangala Charanam prayers, the prayers for invoking auspiciousness. You can also join me behind muted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpa Turubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Dishatarne Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, text number 69. Nacha tasman manas yeshu kastin me priya kritat maha bhavitana me nacha me tasmad anya priyo priya taro bhuvi. Word for word translation. Na, never. Cha, and. Tasmat, than him. Manusyeshu, among men. Kaschit, anyone. Me, to me. Priya kritamaha, more dear. Bhavita, will become. Na, no. Cha, and. Me, to me. Tasmat, than him. Anyaha, another. Priya taraha, dearer. Bhuvi, in this world. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. there is no purport to this verse. So I thought I would refer to Srila Prabhupada's various writings, talks, and letters for some insights on Srila Prabhupada's explanation of this verse. So instead of a purport, that's what I would do today. So in a conversation, in a room conversation in Mauritius on October 4th, 1975, Srila Prabhupada was speaking to his disciples, and Pushta Krishna Swami was one of them. So Pushta Krishna Swami spoke to Srila Prabhupada and he said, sometimes I have heard one person, he complained, why there is no purport to this verse? And this verse is referring to is 1869. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Srila Prabhupada, no purport? Pushta Krishna, yes, they have mentioned that there is no purport for this verse. Srila Prabhupada, it is already explained. Anyone who is preaching. So I was very happy when I came across this room conversation, because in one sense, this verse is an extremely important verse. And Srila Prabhupada's mission in life was firstly to exemplify this verse, and secondly, to mobilize whoever he could, among his followers at least, to fulfill the purport of this verse. So I found it somewhat strange that Srila Prabhupada had not commented or offered a purport to this verse. And I was trying to meditate why. And when I came across this conversation, Srila Prabhupada said, it is already explained, anyone who is preaching. And my realization that Srila Prabhupada, I guess in one sense he knew, he exemplified this verse. And it was Srila Prabhupada's mood in his life to never draw attention to himself. That is the mood of a pure Vaishnava. A pure Vaishnava does not want to draw attention to himself, but he wants to draw all attention to Krishna. So this is one realization I had in terms of this verse and why no purport. And in one sense, Srila Prabhupada very, very simply said, anyone who is preaching. I also like to refer to one letter. So the first was a talk, a room conversation. The next one is a letter who Srila Prabhupada wrote to Mr. Karsan in 1976, December 2nd, while he was located in Hyderabad. And in this letter to Mr. Karsan, Srila Prabhupada refers to this verse. Now, Mr. Karsan, he was a very special individual. And he had come forward voluntarily to help Srila Prabhupada's pioneering days in Africa, in his preaching mission in Africa. And one of the first countries Prabhupada preached in Africa was Kenya. And Prabhupada was just trying to establish his mission there under the supervision of His Holiness Brahmananda Swami, Prabhupada's disciple. And Mr. Karsan had kindly come forward and was organizing the purchase of one house in Mombasa for the preaching of the Krishna consciousness movement. So Srila Prabhupada wrote to him this letter. And Prabhupada said, Dear Mr. Karsan, Please accept my blessings. I have heard from Brahmananda Swami that you are organizing the purchase of the house in Mombasa that we want as Krishna's temple. All the blessings of Krishna are with you. Na chatasman manashyeshu kaschin me priyakrita maha bhavita na chame tasmad anyaha priyataro bhuvi. Anyone who preaches Bhagavad Gita is very dear to Krishna. So you are helping this preaching, certainly you'll be dear to Krishna. It is an open secret. Anyone who helps spread Krishna consciousness becomes very dear to Krishna. Others are simply wasting time in the valuable human form of life. Simply help to the best of your capacity. Krishna will be pleased to recognize you. Krishna is the root of everything. If he is pleased, everyone will be pleased. If you pour water on the root, the water will be distributed all over the tree. This is the best service to humanity. Hoping this meets you in good health. You have a well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And finally, when Srila Prabhupada in 1973, January, while he was in Bombay, he wrote a letter and he posted it to George Harrison. That was January 4th, 1973. And it is a beautiful letter, a long letter. And it really shows how appreciative Srila Prabhupada was to George Harrison for helping him establish Krishna consciousness. George Harrison, he did many nice services for Srila Prabhupada, but two very, very significant services that he did for Srila Prabhupada. One was he helped purchase the Bhaktivedanta Manor temple, who most of us now attend and are so fortunate to be part of this community. And secondly, he gave all the money for the first printing of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. And in reciprocation, Srila Prabhupada wrote him this beautiful letter. You can see it on the internet. You can go and research and you can read the whole letter for yourself, which was written on January 4th, 1973. And again, in this letter, Srila Prabhupada quotes this particular verse, 1869. And in that letter, Prabhupada writes, but even more dear than such devotee who is dear to Krishna, one who is very, very dear to me, is he who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages himself with faith, making me the supreme goal. And also one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, or one who is preaching the message of Krishna to the devotees everywhere. Such person is most highly regarded by Krishna as his best friend and devotee. Nacha tasman manasyeshu kastin me priya kritamaha bhavita nacha me tasmad anyaha priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So that will be the supreme perfection of our existence, to come to that point of being best friend, the best devotee of Krishna. And how is that? If we become simply engaged in his preaching work, trying with whatever talent or education or experience or material advantage we have got to spread Krishna conscious message all over the world. That is the best friend of Krishna. That is Krishna's pet dog. I like the way Srila Prabhupada writes, best friend and Krishna's pet dog. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada used to say, this neck beads we got, it's like a dog collar. We are like Krishna's dog. And we want to become like Krishna's pet dog. And the metaphor here is, there is always a very loving relationship between the dog and the master. The dog is completely sold out to the master, and the master, in reciprocation, takes care of every need of the dog. And then, this some of y'all may have seen, it's one of my most favorite quotes. And actually, I just want to stop here and reshare because I'm going to play something and I want to make sure that it plays properly. So in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada gave on the Srimad Bhagavatam in New Vrindavan in 1972, September 4th, speaking on the first canto, second chapter of text number 6. Srila Prabhupada raises the question, what is the prime symptom of love? And Srila Prabhupada raises this question in the context of God. There are many people who proclaim that they have love for God, that they are dedicated to God. So Srila Prabhupada raises the question, what is the symptom of love? How do we recognize one who really has love for God? And Prabhupada says, what is the symptom? The symptom, the prime symptom, the most important symptom of love is that the devotee wants to see that his Lord's name, fame, etc. become widespread. He wants to see that my Lord's name be known everywhere. This is love. If I love somebody, I want to see that his glories are spread all over the world. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Na chatasmat manasyeshu kaschit me priyakrita maha. Anyone who preaches his glories, nobody is dearer to him than that person.
Those who are engaged 24 hours, in which way he is engaged? Bhajata, bhajan, bhajan. Those who are engaged in devotional service. What kind of devotional service? Priti purvakam, with love and affection. One who is engaged in devotional service of the Lord, in love and devotion. What is the symptom of love? Love. The symptom, the prime symptom, most important symptom of love is that the devotee wants to see that his Lord's name, fame, etc. become widespread. He wants to see that my Lord's name be known everywhere. This is love. If I love somebody, I want to see that his glories are spread all over the world. And Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nacha tasmat manusyeshu kaschit me priyakirtam. Anyone who preaches his glories, nobody is dearer to him than that person. Everything is there in the Bhagavad Gita. How you can love, what are the symptoms of love, how you can please God, how he can talk with you, everything is there. But you have to take advantage. We read Bhagavad Gita, but those who are engaged.
So these are some insights of Srila Prabhupada's spoken written word on this most beautiful verse. And if we meditate on the context of this verse, we see that it comes in a very, very special portion of the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna opens up completely to Arjuna. Having spoken the entire Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, now you deliberate on what I've told you, and then you decide what you'd like to do. And without even asking Arjuna to say what he wanted to do, Krishna immediately just opens up his heart and speaks the most confidential part of the whole Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna told Arjuna, just abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Do not fear, I will protect you from all sinful reactions. And Krishna basically told Arjuna, forget everything else I've told you. Now you just do this. And after having spoken these most confidential of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives some further insights of how one can really show that surrender, how one can really show that love. And that is by preaching Krishna consciousness, the essential message that Krishna had given in this Bhagavad Gita, to give it to others. And Krishna says, such a devotee is the most dear to him. The most dear. And Srila Prabhupada, in the letters and talks we've just read, Prabhupada says, best friend of Krishna. Such a devotee becomes the best friend of Krishna. We are all searching for the best friend. That friend who we can show our love and we can experience the greatest reciprocation. That friend who we can completely depend on. That friend who will never let us down. And Krishna says, one who spreads his message becomes his friend. That friend, best friend, not just friend, best friend. In his letter to George Harrison, Srila Prabhupada writes, this is an open secret. This is an open secret. But amazingly, although it's such an open secret, many people do not take to this. In one sense, it is very difficult to attract the attention of Krishna. How do you attract the attention of someone who is completely self-satisfied? How do we attract the attention of someone who has everything, who is not lacking anything, who has millions of maidservants serving him? And the answer is given by Krishna himself. One who extends himself to spread his message becomes very dear. Prabhupada says, by spreading Krishna's message, that is the prime symptom of love. And Krishna says he reciprocates one who shows him love. So one who is just going out and constantly spreading his glories, Krishna reciprocates with that devotee's love. So someone may ask, why does it become so is such a devotee so dear? I'd like to read to you, and I've read this previously, but it's one of my favorite extracts. It's a book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita, written by Sanatana Goswami. And just some insights into this book. Bhagavatamrita, Brihad means the big or the great, and Bhagavatamrita means the nectar of the Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam. So this book, written by Sanatana Goswami, basically is an explanation. After Maharaj Parikshit had heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami, and just before he was to be killed by the snake bird, his mother Uttara came to Maharaj Parikshit and says, can you summarize what you've heard over the last 7 days from Shukadev Goswami? And Maharaj Parikshit speaks, and Sanatana Goswami has compiled this book, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And in text, in a chapter called Vaikuntha, the Spiritual Kingdom, in text number 81 to 87, Sanatana Goswami reveals a very intimate inner mood of the Lord. And essentially, this whole book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, is the story of Gop Kumar. Gop Kumar is a young cowherd boy, and he wants to find his ultimate destination. And he goes through various places. So in one extract, the Lord reveals his inner mood to Gop Kumar. And Gop Kumar, you can take it, he's been a soul that's been lost in the material world for a long time. So the Lord finally welcomes Gop Kumar back to the spiritual world. And the Lord tells Gop Kumar, welcome, welcome, my dear boy. I am fortunate, most fortunate to meet you here. For so long, I have been eager to see you. My dear friend, you have passed many lifetimes without paying any attention to me at all. So the Lord is saying, Gop Kumar, you were stuck in this material world. And I have been so eager for you to see you. But you've passed many, many lifetimes without paying any attention to me. And the Lord goes on to say, for so long, hope had me dancing like a fool, thinking perhaps in this lifetime or this lifetime, or this, or this, or this, he will finally turn his face toward me. Again, the Lord is giving insight into his every lifetime. The Lord is thinking, maybe this lifetime, Gop Kumar will turn to me. The next lifetime, that lifetime he wouldn't. So the next lifetime would come and he would think, maybe this lifetime he would turn to me, but he doesn't. So lifetime after lifetime, the Lord keeps this hope. In this lifetime, he's going to turn to me. And then he says, but I could find no pretext on which to bring you back to my abode, dear brother. You still follow the timeless laws that I've myself have created. Basically, the Lord is saying he does not interfere with the independence of the living entity. The living entity has that choice whether to turn to the Lord or to turn away from the Lord. But the Lord said he made one exception for Gop Kumar. He said, you showed me no mercy. And as I've considered this, I grew impatient, full of anxiety to receive your favor. So I transgressed my eternal code of conduct and arranged for you to take your current birth. Dear boy, in that divine district of Govardhan, my most beloved abode, I myself became your guru, known by the name of Jayanta. Today you have at last fulfilled the desire that I have harbored for so long. Please nourish your happiness and mine by staying here forever. Please stay with me forever. So this beautiful extract from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita revealed by Sri Sanatana Goswami, it shows how the Lord is just seeing us in this material world. And he's hankering, he's hoping that we will just turn to him and begin our journey back home. But the Lord, he does not want to interfere with us. He won't force us to do that. But when one of his devotees takes on the Lord's own mission, goes to that forgotten soul, reminds him of his relationship with the Lord and of Krishna consciousness, and revives that Krishna consciousness, the Lord becomes so indebted to that devotee. So indebted, because what the Lord didn't want to do, could not do, that devotee has now achieved. And by doing that, that devotee has relieved the Lord's anxiety. He has relieved the Lord's hankering. And the Lord feels this gratitude, where he says in this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, that there is no one more dear to me, nor will there ever be anyone more dear to me. And Srila Prabhupada explains that we have two types of devotees of the Lord. One is called the Bhajananandi, and the other is called the Gosti Anandi. The Bhajananandi devotees, they like to live alone. They like to focus on their bhajan, and they make advancement. And they develop their relationship with the Lord in solitary, mainly solitary confinement. But there's another class of devotee called the Gosti Anandi. These devotees, they are not content just cultivating their own bhajan and relishing their Krishna consciousness. They want to go out and canvas on behalf of the Lord and bring back more and more souls towards the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada explains, this is the purpose of the Acharya, to spread the bhakti cult. Acharya Mam Vijanayat. So one who is not spreading proper rites, he's cultivating Krishna consciousness for his personal benefit in a secluded place. Sitting and chanting, that is also nice, but it's not Acharya. Acharya means he must spread Gosti Anandi, Bhajana Nandi, Gosti Ananda, Gostya Nandi. So generally, Gostya Nandi means one who wants to increase the number of devotees. He's called Gostya Nandi. One who is self-satisfied, that let me do my own duty, that is called Bhajana Nandi. So Prabhupada talks about his own Guru Maharaj, how he wanted to increase. And then this is a verse from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nishingadev. And Srila Prabhupada is very, very fond of quoting this verse. So Lord Nishingadev wanted to give Prahlad the benediction. Whatever benediction you want, please ask for it, Prahlad. And Prahlad's response to the Lord's request is forever immortalized in the Srimad Bhagavatam and is praised by the Acharyas as the perfect mood of the devotee of Lord Krishna. And in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj says, my dear Lord, I have no problems and I want no benediction from you, because I am quite satisfied to chant your holy name. This is sufficient for me, because whenever I chant, I immediately merge in an ocean of transcendental bliss. I only lament to see others bereft of your love. They are rotting in material activities for transient material pleasure and spoiling their lives, toiling all day and night simply for sense gratification with no attachment for love of Godhead. I am simply lamenting for them and devising various plans to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. So Prahlad Maharaj says, for myself, I am completely satisfied. My only lamentation is to see the others suffering in this world, how they are rotting in material activities for just some transient material pleasure. And they are spoiling their lives. They're working so hard day and night, yes, for a little sense gratification. For them, I am lamenting. And I wish to devise plans to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. And Srila Prabhupada exemplified this mood. And Srila Prabhupada wanted his followers to also take on this mood. And Srila Prabhupada knew, as exemplified in this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, by simply doing this, we attract the favor of Lord Krishna. So dear devotees, some of us may think, I'm just a simple person, I'm not a learned scholar. I am not anyone to shout about. how can I be a preacher? Today, this morning, I was reading a very nice quotation from Srila Prabhupada, where Prabhupada writes, simply read my books and repeat what I have written. Then your preaching will be perfect. And Divya Gaurangi and Mataji and myself were discussing the other day how Srila Prabhupada's disciple Shama Sundar and Malati, they had one daughter, Saraswati. And Saraswati was traveling together with their parents around India with Srila Prabhupada. And when they went to Madras, they went to a big program. And little Saraswati was only 2 or 3 years old. She would go up to anyone she met in the crowd and she would tug on their clothes. And then she would look up and she'd say to the people, do you know who is Krishna? Do you know who is Krishna? And the people will say, no, tell me. And she would say, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada was witnessing this and he said, just see, this little child, Saraswati, she's the perfect preacher. Whatever she's heard, she's repeating and she's telling people. So to preach is not difficult. You know, all of us have heard, all of us have read, all of us have some realizations about Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada said, the preacher is like the youngest child in the family. The youngest child always receives special attention and special protection from the parents, because the youngest child is the most dependent on the parents. And the preacher is like that. The preacher is most dependent on Krishna because the preacher is taking risks. Just like us, we may feel, okay, I have heard Krishna says one who spreads his message is most dear. So let me spread. And who can I spread to? I have some friends. I have some family. Let me just tell them about Krishna and his message in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, although in one sense it's such a simple thing to do, but many of us have reservations about doing it. Many of us have fears about doing this because we think, you know, what may they think about us? They may think that we are fanatics. They may think that we are imposing on them. They may get angry with us. My relationship may get spoiled. But a devotee, although he knows that, he still says, let me take the risk for Krishna. Because Krishna says this will please it, let me extend myself. Let me make some sacrifice. Let me take some risk for Krishna. And he still tries to repeat Krishna's message. And that is what Krishna sees. That this soul, he is taking some risk. He is extending himself. He is making some sacrifice. He is very dear to me. I will give him special protection. So this is a very, very confidential verse of the Bhagavad Gita because it's revealing a secret by which we can become very dear to Krishna. And as Prabhupada writes to George Harrison, one who becomes dear to Krishna has reached the perfection of his existence. So dear devotees, we have one opportunity at the moment. We have started the Bhadra campaign. And this Bhadra campaign is all about popularizing the Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no other literature in the world. There is no other literature in the world that promotes the glories of Lord Krishna better, more comprehensively, and more beautifully than the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are reaching out to everyone we know to say, we are on a mission to distribute 25,000 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world this year on the 125th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance. We are requesting every devotee to come forward and please make one sankalpa that I will try to distribute one set of Srimad Bhagavatam, either distribute or gift or sponsor. So we want to encourage all of you all to do this, to please come forward and you know, show you're willing to make one particular sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord Krishna, to extend ourselves. I'm going to post on our chat. This is a link we have. You can click on this link, and then you can sign up to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll stop here. I've gone a bit over, spoken too much. So forgive me if I've taken too much of your time. If there's any questions or comments or reflections, I see, and someone has written something, but I'll come back to the chat. So please, if you've got any questions, reflections, or comments, please, you can speak.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
What a wonderful verse, and very appropriate at the start of the Bhadra campaign. So if there are any lingering doubts in anybody's mind, these have been completely cleared. Krishna is waiting for your small action, just one set only that you can distribute. So I'm sure anybody can do that. We have seen the kids distributing online. If a 7-year-old, 10-year-old can do it, why can't a 45-year-old or 75-year-old do it? I'm sure it can be done. This is so appropriate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu. You're always so encouraging and so enthusiastic. Yes, you know, we are at the service of everyone if they have any doubts of how they can distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many wonderful ways, and we are there at your service to do it. So Hema Mataji has a comment in the chat box here. Krishna is a friend who is happy to stay in the most contaminated heart of ours and still keep giving us the benefit of doubt, only expecting our love. Where would we find such a friend? So true, Hema Mataji. That's a wonderful realization you have. And thank you so much for sharing it with all of us today. Anyone else has any reflections or comments on
Hare
this?
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jolly
Hare
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
That, oh my goodness, those stories just touch my heart. I'm melting at the moment. And you point out all the things that we are thinking and going through, which is amazing. Connects with those story you told us about, Prahlad's story and the Saraswati little girl. That was so sweet. And the key of it is the simple secret you pointed out. So simple, and yet we make it so difficult.
Yes.
And I was feeling all those things that you pointed out. Amazing. You know, I could see Krishna is telling you what to say, even with your eyes closed. And I felt it so much. It really touched my heart. And just to spread the word, just a tiny little fraction of an action to help Krishna on the way. And Prabhupada, I thought that was so sweet. I am actually very emotional. And I am going to sign up. Thank you, because
Hare
I was experiencing all those the difficulties you pointed out, and I was thinking I already contacted them about Bhagavad Gita. I tried with this the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I got turned down so many times. It sort of made me feel really rejected and dejected and all those sort of things. So I agree with the Prabhuji who said all those things about this speech. Is the most powerful, and all I could think is wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Prabhuji. You put it in such amazing, good context and very simple form that we must take forward. Every one of us should just say yes, and you see it will happen, I'm sure, if we think the same way as you do with the positivity and think about our fellow men and women, how we could help them and how we can be one great worldwide family, international, so we can join hands and have fun and be with the Lord. And also to take, to follow Prabhupada, who sacrificed so much for us. I'm sorry, I can go on, but that was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm feeling.
Sorry, I was late joining, but I just caught that end, and it's so beautiful.
Thank you, Jolly Mother. I'm feeling emotional hearing your emotions because
I am
can see
emotional. I really am.
you.
And you have actually helped me to see the truth, really. What are we scared of? What is stopping us? You know, and we one big family as it is. Let's join hands.
Yes, a little, just extend ourselves little for Krishna, and he takes it so big. He wants to reciprocate with us. He just wants to, if we just do this little service for him.
And I could see that in you. So you are a good messenger. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan, Chandra Prabhu, such
Thank
a
you.
wonderful class, and it goes hand in hand. Like yesterday, we had the preaching for the Bhadra campaign, and this today's verse, which was open for you to go further on this subject of our Bhadra campaign, and I was really inspired. It's just it came in right time, and you had the whole opportunity to give us the whole knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is so dear to Srila Prabhupada, and we will try our best this year to distribute as many as possible, not only one, more than one.
Yeah. You know what I've realized, Mataji, Krishna is so merciful.
Please.
All we have to have is the desire.
Yeah.
Once that desire manifests in our heart, Krishna empowers us to expand that desire and thus allow him to reciprocate with us. This is the miraculous aspect of Krishna's mercy and his devotees' mercy. He will empower us to serve him and in this way please him.
Yes, very, very true. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful.
So we have some comments here. Bhagavati Mataji says, amongst all the gifts we can give to others, the gift of spiritual knowledge is one of the highest because it has the capacity to transform the recipient eternally. So true, Bhagavati Mataji, so true. Thank you for drawing our attention to that point. Then
you
we
have
have
inspired us this time, Prabhuji, very much inspired. So just bless me. I can do more this year.
So
in distributing, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, Bhagavati Mataji, you did amazingly last year. You always do amazingly. And I'm sure this campaign, the Lord will empower you to do even more amazing.
We'll try, definitely going to try. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. There is one message directly to me, and I'm not sure if Prabhu would, maybe he sent a direct message to me because he wants to remain anonymous. He says, I have 2 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, both at home at the office. I would like to sponsor a set and want to give a set to a friend. Where can I pick up the set and pass? So someone's come forward to distribute 2 sets of Bhagavatam, which is so nice. Thank you so much for that, Prabhu. All glories to your service. All right. If there's no other comments or questions, I thank you all devotees for coming forward and for all you do for worshiping Krishna by reading and studying Bhagavad Gita and spreading Krishna consciousness. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnava
Ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Lord of Premanand.
Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol. Thank you, Prabhuji, for wonderful class. Thank you.